everyone, welcome to the DevFast podcast. Today we have with us the very inspiring Major Nithi ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. This is such an honor.
Thank you so much, Veera. It's absolutely my pleasure to be part of this podcast.
Ma'am, one of the most inspiring things that I think all women take from you is your going into army. So what was the first thing that inspired you for the army?
So the dream of wearing a uniform was, or to be part of a uniform force was always there in my mind right from the age of 10. I still remember that I was in fifth standard, and when my mother asked me just normally, so what do you want to become? The usual questions that start off at that age about what you want to become in your life. And my answer would be, I want to fly a aeroplane. So, it started from there. But of course, eventually we understand our capabilities. We weigh out that how we can play on our strengths. And maths was really a difficult subject for me. So then I dropped the plan of flying a plane, but definitely still uniform forces was a dream. And inspiration was there for me at home because my father was in the army. And I have grown up seeing him not just command or take on responsibilities, but also the whole the family, how the family operates and how people are always there to help you if you are there to help them. So that has been something always there on my mind, that I have to get into something where I'm contributing to not only my own growth, but the development of the whole organization and people.
Wow, that's inspirational, and that's simple, and that's inspirational. I don't know anything to say after that. Like, it's the most fulfilling answer ever. So, ma'am, you are the first candidate of CDS entry from your state, and many people inspire to do things that are like, first mujhe ye karna hai, first mujhe wo karna hai, I want to do this and that. But at the end of the day, when you joined the army, there wasn't an equal gender ratio, and I'm not sure if there still is, but they are trying to get equal numbers. Like, they're promoting gender equality. Like this year as well, we had Captain Tyagi ma'am on Kartavya Path, but when you started, there wasn't an equal ratio. So what's that experience like?
So it was really, it was very different for me, because when I was stepping into the army, I was one of the few batches of CDS entry. I joined in the third batch, and before there were two batches which were already, one of them was in the academy, and the first batch had already passed out by the time I joined the academy. So coming from a place like Chhattisgarh, and I'm talking of 2008, 2007, 2008 era, not many people knew about the army itself. Forget about knowing about women officers in the army. And today, when I'm connected to so many veterans through the WSCS Commission, and when I hear their challenges and how they have carried on the journey. So, one thing is for sure, which we felt the moment we stepped in, things were better in so many ways for us. When I interact with our veterans from the WS entry, I come to know what all they have gone through. Compared to that, it has been very different for us, and I would say in much better situation. Okay, where they were probably the only women officer in the whole core zone or in the whole formation. By the time I joined in I got commissioned, there were, you would see at least few women officers in the core zone. I took over my responsibilities when I joined into the unit, my first unit. I took on the responsibilities from a woman officer who was commissioned into that unit. So it was really different an experience. On one hand, you are the first from your state through an entirely different entry, because 6 months training transformed to 11 months training. Expectations changed from us, and our own mindset changed. So I was like, okay, I might be, first from the state, but here are people who have already set their examples. Now I should ensure that I should do my best for the organization.
That's and amazing.
When you are there in the field, the only thing you think of is doing your duties. Rest all stays back. Rest all just goes back. I still remember the first day of the academy, and we were welcomed anteroom in a very unique way. The moment we entered the anteroom, we were told to get into the Maharaja position. If somebody doesn't know, then you can check out. It's a very interesting position where you are on your legs apart and your head is on the floor and with your hand behind. So, and the first thing our seniors told us is, leave all that you have accumulated so far in terms of, I am this, I am first in this, I am this in the merit, I am that in my college. Leave all that. Here you have come to become a soldier. That's all. And that's all matters in the long run. When we pass out, it doesn't matter you are the sword of honor, or you are the best, in something, or you are the senior under officer. We all pass out as lieutenants. We wear the same ranks. So over a period of time, you realize that above all these differences and the discrimination we have created for ourselves, we are all one, and one should just think about it and stay grounded.
That's amazing. The feeling of equality, even when there is a little bit of difference in reality. That's something we can only hope for as civilians, and when we have the normal job force where there are still differences around. So that's absolutely amazing, ma'am. And
there will be
yes.
Just add on, Veera, there will always be difference. Let's not forget that we are a different biologically a different sex. Forget about gender. I mean, gender equality is one aspect, but biologically there are differences, and you cannot deny that difference. One has to just find out ways and means in which you can, irrespective of those differences, you can just work together as one organization over your sex or gender.
True. That's very practical. Very, very true. And ma'am, this I want to ask you personally. If you think about your army days now, what's the one memory you go back?
What's the one memory? I mean, there are so many memories, but the best one is definitely wearing my father's stars. That was the best memory of my life. I guess I attained what I wanted from army the day I got commissioned. My dreams were fulfilled then and there. The rest 10 years, I've just lived the dream. That's all.
That's great, ma'am. What's the one lesson you learned in that period?
In those 10 years? So, very interesting thing. I was writing on this very thing, on life lessons for a particular initiative, which looks into collecting life lessons from different, people from different professions and different backgrounds. So I was writing, in fact, last night I was writing that what is the one life lesson which you have got? So I was just thinking, and I was writing on so many things. Introspection, is it introspection? Is it discipline? Is it motivation? Is it, camaraderie? And then I realized, no, my experience as a army officer and as an intelligence operative has been very unique. It has been very different. And that one thing I realized was patterns. It is very important to break the patterns we create. This might sound little, contrary to what is the general norms, that, you should have a set routine, you should have a set habit, you should habit forming, rituals, etc., etc. And I'm saying that you have to break patterns. I'll tell you why. So when we are creating, we are doing anything, whatever task we take up, or whatever comes in front of you. Suppose somebody had a crush. Okay, the younger generation can relate to this. Okay, somebody has or you have a crush on someone. What will you do? You will try doing things in a certain way to impress that person. Now that person holds a supremacy at that time, what we call as information supremacy. What kind of information supremacy? That person knows that you like that person, and you will do things to impress that person. So that person, over a period of time, keeps on putting across to you different challenge. And a point comes when you think that I'm trying my best. Why is it that this person is not succumbing to it? This is where that person has understood your patterns, and that's why you are not successful. Same goes in businesses, same goes in all leadership. Whenever we see any new leader, at least we used to do in the army, whenever we used to come across any new leader who has been appointed in, say, the president of the country, the first thing we do is we profile the person, the likes, the dislikes, etc. Why? Understanding patterns gives us a information supremacy, and we all love that information supremacy. We all want to be mysterious, yet we should know everything about our neighbors. अच्छा, उसके घर में ये चल रहा है, इसके घर में वो चल रहा है, देखो मुझे पता है, that kind of a thing. Yeah. So, and somewhere when you see as a person who's having professional goals, this pattern will make you little vulnerable.
Why so?
Okay. So if the patterns are helping you show your positive identities, then it's fine. But now imagine if those patterns are showing your negative identity, then it becomes little trickier situation. Okay. So if you see interviews, all these, whether it is army, whether it is outside, people try to put you in a certain pattern. We try to see pattern in everything. We see pattern in clouds. Even if there is no pattern, still we try to. That is absolutely absolutely the cognitive revolution playing out. Okay.
True.
So till the time patterns are positive, that's fine. Okay, good habits and all. But if the pattern is negative, it can play against you socially, it can play against you professionally, it can play against you personally, and so many. So that is why it is important to break patterns. Now, are habits patterns? Yes, they are. Yet they are also a way of setting up good patterns.
True.
So once you set your good patterns and once you bring people's focus on your good parts, people will not spend time on your negative parts, on your weaknesses. They will be ready to ignore the weaknesses.
True.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, we say कि अच्छा ठीक है, ये थोड़ा सा लेजी है, या कपड़े खुद नहीं धोती है, या ये धोता है, but ये अच्छा बंदा है. That अच्छा बंदा है, being a good human being, takes more supreme position than being just a, then over your laziness or other factor. Now, is practicing some forming pattern? No. Again, it's not forming pattern. So we say practice makes perfect. Why does practice makes perfect? Because by practicing, you are preparing yourself to be ready for different contingencies, different alternative situations, different emergencies. And tomorrow, if you want, you can break the pattern and take a step ahead.
True.
Also, by breaking such patterns, you are like unleashing each layer and going up. If you follow tennis or you follow any football or any of the games, just follow the if you follow the game these sportsmen have played over the years. If you follow their games, their game changes over a period of time. They will do something very different which will shock the opponent. That is breaking pattern. That is what have brought them success. They have not let themselves to be predictive in nature. So this is my life lesson to all. If you want to success professionally, personally, socially, whichever, you have to get over your patterns. You shouldn't be a very predictive person. Even if you are predictive, you should be predictive for the good, not for the bad.
True.
That's
So
my life
predictability
lesson I
in the
got from the
bad
army.
sense, predictability in
Yeah.
the bad sense can be dangerous.
Absolutely, no doubt about it.
So, ma'am, does this apply to army? Like, of course it does, because if you're having a specific pattern, enemy knows how to break into your country.
Absolutely. Routines give out so much. Behavior, our drills give out so much about us. Our a simple thing which we do can give out so much about our personality as the armed forces. Our leaders, whom we are choosing as our leaders. As a nation, who are we making the leader of our country? All these things, they give out pattern about how strong is our country.
True. Very
So
true.
in case, if we don't play it, patterns should not be governing us. We should be governing the patterns. We should be the governing the mind. After all, it is a mind game.
Yes, ma'am. This is actually very, very thought provoking. अभी ऐसा लगता है 2 मिनट रुक के सोच लो कि क्या बोला इतना. Absolutely.
Yes, do mull over it. And I think
Right.
so it's a podcast, so it can give the listeners an opportunity to listen to what I said, and they can just mull over
Pause,
it, what I
repeat
said.
it. This is I can bet on this. This podcast people will repeat over and over again. एक बार में नहीं होगा ये, बार-बार सुन लो. So ma'am, this was
Thank you.
about patterns and the way we are doing things. But what is a lesson you learned in the army that is not going on? And I apologize if this is a little repetitive, but what is something that's happening in the army that is not happening enough outside in the civilians that you think should happen?
Interesting. So, if we talk about what is happening in the army, which the civilians can take from. See, I won't say, criticism is the easiest thing we can do. ये नहीं हो रहा है, वो नहीं हो रहा है. But one thing which I would say the civil population can take from the army as a lesson would be integrity. Integrity is one major thing that we have to look into, and a sense of responsibility. This is somewhere I think so as civil in a civil parlance we have to work more. Of course, I'm not denying the fact that the younger generation is taking up on so many social causes and they are working for that. That is why you are here. So it is really encouraging for the coming generations. But at the same time, a little more sense of responsibility and little more honesty. There's no harm in saying I don't know, but I can't do it myself. Can you help me? That is the kind of honesty, that is the kind of integrity one should have about in themselves, not just as an army officer or army personnel, but I think so every citizen of this country.
True.
Because in the garb of hiding your weaknesses, or in the garb of not hiding weaknesses, but I would say in the garb of just not bringing it out, because the moment you will bring out, it might cause you a negative image. Don't think that everybody is judgmental on this planet. No, that doesn't happen that way. There are people who will listen to you. There are people who will help you. And if you're honest to your work, if you're honest to your sense of responsibility, people will be more than happy to help. So I think so. This is where the civil society has to little put in more. I'm not saying it's not there. It's there, but probably it has to become more evident as a nation. It has to come up a little more.
True. It's a little rare to see. That's 100% true. 100% hands down. Okay, ma'am. Now coming to a slightly different issue. Whenever someone looks at your profile, Instagram, anywhere, your website, wherever we look at it, you're like a yoga practitioner. Then you're a graphologist. You have been a risk consultant in the corporate world. How do you handle so many things? This is the most honest question ever.
Yeah, so that's where the pattern breaking thing works. just on the lighter note. See, Veera, I feel that it's only one life that we are aware of. I mean, the indie culture does talk of many lives, but we might not remember what we did in this life. But at least we can do something which can be remembered by the people once we leave this place. So that's the, and I feel that explore as much as you can. Don't limit. By defining yourself, I am this. Put a full stop to yourself. If I just keep thinking that I am an army veteran, and if I just stick onto that, I'll never grow in any other dimension in my life. So handling all this together, yes, it is challenging for me. There are times where I feel that I should just, go underground and just, hide myself somewhere and not come out for days. But I know that it is not feasible, and it is not a viable option when you have people looking up to you, and when you have set some goals for yourself. And it's always better to be busy, I would say. An army person can never sit idle. That is one thing. You see all the veterans on our
Everyone is doing
social media
something.
profile. Not just something, but they are doing so many things at one go. Like 24 hours, they are aptly utilizing it. I mean, whomsoever I speak to, whether it is Vijay sir or DV sir or Ankita ma'am or any one of those, any one of them, Yashika ma'am. Whenever I converse with them, they all know that we literally do multiple things at one go.
True, ma'am. 100%. Like, I had this exact question with Vijay Nair sir also. How do you handle so many different things? And this is actually a pattern in everyone who is a veteran.
Yes.
They are doing many things at a time, and it's absolutely like awe-inspiring कि कैसे हो जाता है, हम लोग बैठ के देखते रहते हैं बस कोने में. Ma'am, one other very interesting thing that you are doing, graphology. What is it like for a layman?
So graphology, if you look at our handwriting, you pick up any scripture, any script, you like Devanagari, or you pick up the Latin script, pick up any in this world. It is again forming using certain lines and dots and circles. So very defined shapes we use to create our scripts. So graphology is the study of graphos, or basically the whatever we do with our hand, the output which comes out. It can be a drawing, it can be a painting, it can be doodling, it can be writing, it can be any. So studying them, studying these, and analyzing these patterns, and trying to understand the psychology, the mindset of the person who has done that, is the study of is called graphology. Studying handwritings is most popular because it's easy and it's interesting. It gives so much about the person who's writing compared to a painting or a doodling. And of course, even if you study logo of companies, they give so much about that particular company, what they are looking at.
So ma'am, can you predict something about a company looking at the logo? Because this is very, very inspiring. Like,
yes, it's not predicting, but it's more like analyzing that what are the thought processes going on in the company, where can they face challenge? Could it be communications? Could it be sales? Will it be a challenge in their marketing? So such things, of course, we can. Graphology is not a predictive analysis, but it is more like analyzing based on the data available in front of you. It's not like predicting like how the future, that doesn't happen here. Otherwise, it becomes like astrology. No, we are not looking at. It's more like a science, where it's a scientific analysis happening. So you create a circle and you create another circle over here. So all these things give out so many things about a particular thought process behind that creation of the logo. So yeah, it's a scientific analysis that we can predict about any company based on their logo.
is there anything I should be worried about?
So I would want to understand, is the D placed over the full sphere, or is it like the sphere is encircling the D?
Actually a little bit of this is wallpaper. इसके पहले पीछे wallpaper था, but this is like a black D and उसके black circle and इसके ऊपर वो white D is there. It is a little tilted.
Yeah. So, okay. So, the color black. I'll talk color black. What does black define? Black defines authority. Black defines secrecy. Black defines a very closed space. And since it's a full circle, and you have placed it on a full black circle. So it also holds different connotations. The D, the way the part of the D is extending into the lines, the circular part of the D. It's extending it towards the left side, shows that somewhere you want to root it to cultures, to experiences of people, to experience, to your own experiential learning. You're looking at those aspects, and so yeah, and just one letter, a letter is there, and not a symbol. All these things slowly, give out so many things about the and somewhere you connect very deeply. You are connecting intellect to your brand growth. So there is there is a very strong connect between
This is
between
scary
that.
and true at the same time.
So yeah. No, it's not scary. It's interesting. Yes. So I started graphology as a part of my professional requirement. It is not that I learned it recently. I was into handwriting analysis, behavioral analysis, human behavior. What is the other person thinking?
And now I'm scared. You know everything
Expression.
about me.
No. It's not like everything but you just try to understand what all. So we communicate a lot beyond just words. So all that non-verbal communication, I love doing that.
You already know so much about me, and now I'm a little कि किसका interview हो रहा है? कौन किसको क्या
नहीं
बात
नहीं
कर
नहीं.
रहा है? So ma'am, this is another, because before this I had no idea what graphology was. Before this I read on Wikipedia, and I quote this, that I'll just pull up the article because I have no idea. So it basically quotes, no scientific evidence exists to support graphology, and it is generally considered a pseudoscience or scientifically questionable practice. And while I personally don't agree with it, because many people are using it, and like you just did.
Yes, so forensic graphology is very much an evidence in the court of law. So and there are Wikipedia is yet to update itself, I think so. There has already been a research paper published in 2021, in 2021 or 2020 end, that it is very much a science. It has a connection with your the neuromotor skills are involved in this. So it cannot be something which is not scientific. It does connect your subconscious mind to your consciousness directly, because there is an input happening and there is an output. So you can't just deny something which you are doing physically as being pseudo. So the reason it was played as a pseudoscience is probably because of the predictive analysis part that most of the graphologists sometimes slip into, which I personally feel shouldn't be done, because we are a scientific analysis stream and not a predictive analysis.
So it's real, and you need to be scared of it. कि किसी को अगर सामने पता है, then it's a little risky, because anyone knows.
So I'll tell you something, an experience.
Sure, ma'am.
We were traveling by flight, and so in Indigo they have these 3 seats together. So I was in the aisle, and my husband was in the center, and on the wing side there was already a young boy sitting, and I saw his hand. He was scribbling something in his register, college going register, and the moment I saw the whole page, I was like, oh my goodness, this guy is going to attempt something nasty the moment he gets down from this plane. So I told this thing to my husband. I'm like, I think so, this guy is showing suicidal tendency. He has extremely low confidence level presently, and I just hope he reaches home safely. And my husband, the first thing he said was, shut your mouth and your mind. because don't put me in trouble and don't get yourself. See, he's always concerned from that balance that, people have this thing, tumhe kya lena dena type, people always say that. So, it kind of is very interesting, when you're like this has also happened, when people come to meet me and, seeing their posture, I know that they are interested or they are not interested in a conversation with me. So I come to know. And, in a way, it's good. Like I invest only then that much time in that. But I do instantly pick up. I remember telling this junior of mine when I was invited to one of the army units to help them learn about behavioral analysis, which is called as elicitation. The technique is called eliciting information through body language. And I was taking a class for them. I said, see, we give out a lot many information like this. Like I can see that Captain so-and-so wants to step out of the room at the earliest. And she was shocked for a minute. She was like, oh my God, what is this happening? So it's like you're reading people, but you just have to stay mum. On social media, like I see the photographs of people. I see my own thing. I review my own stuff a lot. Okay, what am I trying to express here? It tells so much about yourself also in the picture. So it's very interesting. And interestingly, how much ever you pretend, you still give out your naturals. Even actors. My first video analysis, that is a video analysis I did, was of Indira Gandhi's interview. Now, if you see Indira Gandhi, it's very difficult to visualize somebody of her stature, to be having a very vulnerable expression. She's not a very, very, eccentric a person. She doesn't express though, like that. Her face is very stone-faced. And if you see the entire interview, if you just see normally, you will say that she has done so well in the interview. But it's just that when you start seeing carefully, seeing each thing, when she was put across certain controversial questions about the Punjab insurgency, the Kashmir insurgency, when things were put up to her, there is this portion of our forehead which is called the glabella. There's a muscle here. So when somebody is lying, irrespective how much you try, this muscle has a tendency to twitch. And when I viewed her videos again and again, I noticed her peculiar habit of her where she would smirk in a certain way. Her lip movement changed when she was put in a difficult question. And that gave to me that, okay, this question was difficult for her answer, So negotiability, you come to know that, okay, how she's negotiating this particular question by calming herself down internally. So like this
army with you were doing this with the army?
Yes. So when I was part of the army, that time I was told to work on on a course to understand human behavior better, so that we can improve our communications with the civil better. And in an intelligence setup, you have to have a good understanding about personalities, about people, about cultures. So in many cultures, a certain gesture is okay, but if you are from the army, you might be coming from some very different background. You will find it very odd, like generally people from the Haryana or Delhi region, they are very loud, like especially Haryana and Punjab, they are very loud. It's not that they are being aggressive, it's because their voice is in that kind of a frequency. It's a very, very normal cultural. So such kind of understanding is very important if you are an intelligence operative. You have to know how to connect with people, and that's why I was working on this particular project.
This is absolutely, अभी तक थोड़ा सा अंदर से डर लग रहा है कि क्या ऐसा पता चलेगा मेरे बारे में. Although I have no mysteries, लेकिन डर लगता रहता है. And ma'am, since you mentioned handwriting वाला incident, that you saw someone writing and you judged what they were going to do next on a predictive level कि he has suicidal tendencies, can someone change their handwriting? Like जो बच्चों को सिखाते हैं कि writing थोड़ी change कर लो and slanted लिख लो ऐसे, उससे does it change the personality?
It impacts you to quite a level, but if you ask me, only handwriting practices don't help. You have to do a lot of efforts to change your personality and work on your personality. And one thing which you would have heard, if somebody is preparing for SSB, they always talk about qualities which are inherited, or it's already there there and certain qualities which can be worked upon. So it is always like that. There are many traits that can be worked upon. Okay. But at the same time, there are many traits which are inherent to you, and to change them will be very difficult, because it has come to you either some things like bias. Bias is very difficult to crack. Your handwriting actually brings up what all kind of biases you hold and whom has it come from. Is it from the mother or is it from the father, or what has led you to think. So one thing is that experiences in our life also help us to form a certain mindset. So all this gets reflected in your handwriting. If everything gets reflected in your handwriting.
Man, this is scary. Like, I can't highlight this enough. How scary it is. सामने बैठ के आपको क्या पता है, किसी को नहीं पता है.
Yeah. So, generally, when I'm doing I'm meeting people, if I have to sign on a document, I have to work with someone, I do my own homework on those personalities, just to make my functioning better. And you can make out so many things about an individual through their handwriting. And one of the writers, or rather he was an FBI agent himself, who I'm all inspired by the personality. His name is Mr. Joe Navarro, and I have referred to all his books. I've read all his books, and literally वो कहते हैं ना घोट के पिया है, तो हमने I've gone through his books. So these people, there are many beautiful studies that they have done about personalities and how we can work upon ourselves to improve our personality. So you can check their books if somebody wants to improve their personality. It's very good to work. It's very important to work on your own behavior and gestures, because that really brings out so much about.
Wow, that's a lot of knowledge. Very, very deep. And we have to like 3-4 बार सुनना पड़ेगा, उसके कम में नहीं होगा.
Yes.
I'm coming to a different aspect, a less scary one, a less intimidating one. Yoga. You're also a practitioner of yoga. You have your own brand, Nira Nithi, that one. Ma'am,
Yes.
we have had Mr. Sivaram Pusapati, who is the co-founder of Classical Hatha Yoga Foundation, Yoga Janika, in Japan, on the show. Like, we'll release the episode very, very soon.
Oh, very
And
nice.
he was talking about how yoga is about happiness. So like you have
Yeah.
some people, like you have Baba Ramdev, who has their opinion that I'm not 100% sure, I'm just saying, he has like health will be improved by yoga, and someone says happiness will be improved by yoga. What is your take on it?
He's very right in saying happiness, because yogic concepts believe on how much you should be living in the present and doing things in the present, rather than dreaming about something and you don't end up doing. So of course yoga is about happiness. For me, I think so yoga is all about well-being. And when we say well-being, good health, wellness, happiness, a very, very balanced emotional state, and all these things come into it together. And that is what from Nira we are trying to make people aware about, that yoga is beyond these asanas. And this thought doesn't come to me like it's like some genius at work in my mind. No, it has been there for years and years now in our scriptures, which say that you have to learn the art of what is called as letting go and rejoice. This is something which my own yoga and spiritual teacher, he speaks about, and it's his teachings that I am trying to take further to people and spread awareness, that don't restrict yourself, that I can't do a certain asana, or you have to look in a particular way to do an asana, or yoga means I have to look a particular way. I think so for me personally, I am looking at promoting that you don't have to look a certain way to be a yoga practitioner.
You can go to the gym for that.
Yeah, and not only that, yoga is an entire lifestyle change. Yoga is not just doing asanas. We speak of Maharishi Patanjali, who's one of the first person to articulate all the disciplines of yoga into one book, which he calls as the Yoga Sutras, where he has given out short aphorisms or sutras, and it is left to the reader to understand its meaning. So, talking about Patanjali, he brings out the Ashtanga yoga, not the one which is these days being being, popularized. But Ashtanga Yoga means actually there are 8 limbs to yoga. Yoga has 8 limbs, and these are very important if someone is looking at spiritual progress. And like our teacher says, spiritual evolution is everyone's right as a human being, as a soul. It's everyone's right. So we all can be spiritually evolved. At the same time, we can carry on with all things in our life. So for me, yoga is about this well-being, which we can, if we inculcate in ourselves, we are giving a very, very great gift to our coming generations.
That's great. It's a way of living, and it's for well-being.
Yes.
That's true and great. And it's what encourages people from non-yoga backgrounds to go to yoga. It's really important for everyone out there, including myself. I have to go do yoga, thinking about it. But
yeah, and you can integrate. It's so flexible. There's no in fact, one of the limitations, so there are many things which have been listed as the distractions for a yogi. So one of the distractions is called niyam graha, or being over disciplined, in the sense that, I will do yoga only in this way. That is also a distraction. So yoga should be something like, you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you freshen up, you get ready for the day. That is how yoga should also be a part of your life, and that's what I'm trying to do. So I hope I'm encouraging you enough to
yes,
include
ma'am.
few easy practices.
This is the one kick you need to like go and do everything. अभी तो मिल गया inspiration इसके पहले देख के. I was actually on your Instagram
Nice.
page before this, and yoga ये yoga वो. It's kind of a guide कि कोई आ गया अगर गलती से, तो भी उसको पता चल जाएगा क्या करना है, कैसे करना है. You had these day 1 to day 8 things going on, and it was really something that looked like अच्छा है, करते हैं.
Great. I'm glad that I could inspire you, and I'm looking forward to see your photograph in some asana or doing some meditation.
So ma'am, speaking of which, what is the one thing, because we talked about so many different things over here, and har ek cheez, I'm pretty sure everyone has to go back and listen 3 to 4 times. Like, one time is not enough. This is what I'm saying thrice, like in this podcast. What is the one thing people need to take away from Nithi ma'am that they can use in their lives every day, and that you would want them to take away?
So my name itself speaks about rules and regulations, So I wouldn't say that you be like I said just back a few minutes back. No, I don't want you to be like over disciplined and do anything in over. But I would say that have a routine for yourself. Have a goal, and have a purpose. If you have become a human being, that means you have a purpose. Otherwise, you would have been like not that other living beings are not important for us, but if you have become a cognitive, a person with cognitive intellect and intelligence, then you should, if you have come on this planet as a human being, you should give something back to the planet. That is my one takeaway. That I mean, that's one thing which I will request everyone to have a purpose in life. Don't be just like random and just आए गए चले गए वाला नहीं करो. Make the most of your life.
That's very true and very realistic as well कि कुछ तो करना ही है. आए गए चले वाला is not going to work at all. So ma'am, what is the one question I asked you that I did not ask you, that I should have asked, because I've missed so much, I'm pretty sure.
One question that you should have asked me and you did not ask. That's interesting. You didn't ask me about how poetry started for me, how writing started.
That's one thing I missed. Should have asked you 100%. How did it start?
So poetry started at a very early age for me. My first poem I wrote at 10 years, when I was 10 years old, and I wrote it for a competition and it won a prize. So I got overjoyed that, I can write poems. And I have been inspired by poems by R.L. Stevenson, or you talk of, there are many great authors. I have this one book, which is my mother's school book. My mom is an English literature teacher. She has been teaching for the last 30 odd years. And it's this one book which had inspired me to pick up poetry, because poetry is such a beautiful way of writing, in which you can express things which you find difficult to express.
True.
You can leave it as an observation there. You can look at it after years and reminisce and, maybe find an answer to that observation that you made. You can leave it as a thought and dump it there, and then read it after years to find a solution to, just to find an answer to, something. So it has its own beautiful ways. And I was reading recently about again he's it's a book by my spiritual teacher only, and he has said that where logic fails, poetry begins there. So so that's how poetry started for me, and I really love writing. I have been part of a couple of anthologies. I've been part of the first anthology, which was by purely defense armed forces veterans.
Wow.
And their families. Yes, and it got published last year. Last year was the first publication that happened. So yes, writing is a very good way to just preserve those emotions which you would want to look back in your life as a life lesson. So it's a very good way to do that. So yes, so that's why I picked up to writing, and I really love writing poems.
Ma'am, what is it
I really
like to
love doing
have
that.
your own poetry published? Because poetry written is one thing, and then getting it published, that seems like a big step. So what is it like?
Yeah, poetry publishing, when you get into the publishing stream for any writer, irrespective poet or a story writer or any writer for that matter, it's a big step. It's a very big decision also, that you want to give out an element of yours as a creativity to the world. So it's a big step. It's just like putting across your painting for the market or for the people to see. So a lot of checks, balances happen. The editors, they will ask you to make some changes and this and that. But touch wood, I've been lucky that I have come across people who have been supportive and who have been able to relate to what I write, and they have hardly gone through any changes so far. So let's see. And I have been planning to bring out my own compilation for long and long now. Let's see, maybe 2023 is the year to see the book.
Looking
So I
forward
hope
to
it
it.
comes
Looking
out.
forward to it. Absolutely looking forward to it. Ma'am, this has
Thank
been
you.
by far the most amazing, like in terms of the experience, in terms of the stories that you've shared, and in terms of the insights that you have, not only to yourself, but also other people's minds. So this has been the most amazing podcast episode ever. Thank you so much for joining us. Like, I couldn't be having a better fangirl moment. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining this one. Thank you so much again.
Humble. My pleasure, Veera. And I think so. In the intelligence parlance, we say that to get the right answers, you should ask good questions. So kudos to you. You did a great job as a host. Thank you so much for making me part of this podcast.